So now we get to move into our shin box, and we're going to start to focus more on hip mobility. I'm in my left side shin box. My left knee is forward. I'm bringing my left hand down to the floor. I want to have that hand grounded through the palm. We're going to let that elbow spiral out and away so that we feel that shoulder blade pack down and back. We're letting that spine lift up to the ceiling. Nice tall spine. I want to weight shift over that left hip so that the right hip is off the floor. I don't want to try to sit keeping both hips on the floor. I'm actually taking it off so that I have room for this hip to move. The first thing we're going to work on is just a little hip opener, focusing on this back hip. We're going to inhale into that nice crocodile breath. Exhale, feel that navel draw up and into the spine. And at the same time, we're slowly lifting that back knee up towards the ceiling, squeezing into it. Inhale as we let it back down under control. Now, as we lift, I don't want to let my shoulders open up with that hip. I'm staying fixed in my shoulders. I'm isolating that hip. I only want the hip to move. I want to see how well does that hip move without moving other parts of the body. And with each one, I'm squeezing into it a little bit more. I want to notice, where do I feel that tension? Is it more in the front hip area? Do I feel it more in the groin, in the lateral, the inside line of the hip? Or do you get some pinch in your glute? Those are going to be the common areas that we're paying attention to. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, we're going to windshield wiper across. We're going to do the same thing. Palm is grounded, elbows spiraled out, shoulders packed, tall spine, and our weight is shifted over. Inhale into that crocodile breath. Exhale, draw that navel in and scoop as we lift. And I want to notice, how high does this knee move compared to the other knee? How tight does it feel? Does it feel stiffer? Does it have less range of motion? One side is going to be different from the other. If you're not feeling the difference, it will take some practice to work to where you start to be more sensitive to notice the difference. Everybody has imbalance, so it is there. It may take a little bit of practice in order to really get a good sense and feel for that imbalance. And if you notice a significant difference one side to the other, especially through the Shin Box Hip Mobility series, it's okay to do a second time around on each one. Oftentimes, coming back to it a second time makes a huge difference. We're shifting back to our first side. Continuing to ground that palm, elbow is spiraled out, packed shoulder, tall spine, and again, weight is shifted over. We're still focusing on this back hip. Now, with our inhale breath, I want to think of that breath as having weight. It's got weight like a bowling ball. As we breathe in, that ball is going to move into that back hip bowl, the bowl of that back hip, moving it towards the floor. I want that to drop the hip. I don't want to shift my weight into it. I'm still shifted forward, but that breath is going to reach that hip to the floor. Can it touch? How close does it get? As we exhale, we're going to let that hip move up, forward. I want to think of like the bony prominence of the hip. How far forward can we get it to go? And then the last part is that tailbone. I want to get those fingers of that tailbone scooping and reaching forward. The more we get that scoop at the end, we should feel some stretch. Could be mild stretch. It could be a significant stretch on the front of the hip. Inhale, fills up that back bowl, reaching it to the floor. Exhale, it comes up, moves forward, and actively scoops. How do you feel that stretch in the front? The more we get this front of the hip fully extended, straight, the more we should start to feel some tightening and contraction in the glute. If you're not able to get that hip straight, you're not going to get the glute contraction. Hip extension, by definition, means glute contraction. So if you're can't get into a fully extended hip, you're not going to get a fully contracted glute. And that's going to create some glute problems. So we want to mobilize this area, noticing if it's tight, restricted, and working on it in order to get better glute function. Once we get 5 to 10 reps, do the same thing on the other side. Again, grounded palm, spiraled elbow, packed shoulder, tall spine, weight is shifted. Nice inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale as it lifts up, reaches forward, and actively scoops. This one is usually an easier assessment to feel the difference because it tends to pop up a little bit quicker for people. Is this side tighter, more restricted than the other side? Are you able to get as much scoop? Does that feel like a greater tension on the front of the hip? Is it harder to feel that glute tightening up and contracting in the back? Once we get to our 5 to 10 reps, we're now going to come back to the other side. We're going to do the exact same movement through that back hip with our breath, but we're now going to add another element to it. I'm going to add some rotation. So nice inhale into that back hip bowl, reaching it to the floor. Exhale as it lifts, move forward and scoops. We want to lock in as much of that back hip as you can first. And then I want to turn my shoulder. So I'm working my right hip at the moment as I scoop, which then means I'm going to turn my right shoulder towards my front knee. I want to see how far can I get that shoulder to reach to that knee. Once I get that reach, I'm then going to spread my hands wide, extend my elbow fully, spiral the palm up to the ceiling, and continue to reach forward. Inhale, I'm unspiraling, elbows pulling in as I bring that breath all the way back into that hip. So again, on that inhale, we're filling up that bowl. Exhale, hip lifts, moves forward, scoops, locking it in. Then reaching that right shoulder towards the right knee as far as you can. I want to feel that stretch draw up into that low back space. And then hand spreads, elbow extends fully, palm spirals up to the ceiling, and then continue to try to reach. Inhale, unwinds. Exhale, locks, extends, spirals, and reaches. I want to feel this nice tension created in the hip turn into more of a spiral rotational stretch into the low back and even all the way up into the shoulders. Then we'll switch sides and we're going to do the same thing. Again, grounded palm, spiraled elbow, packed shoulder, tall spine. Inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lifts, reaches forward, actively scoops, lock it in, reach the shoulder, spread the hands, extend the elbow, and reach a little further. You may notice if one hip was tighter, more than likely, as you add in the element of this rotation, you're going to notice that that rotation is tighter as well. And that's going to be that noticing tension in one area and how it connects into other areas of the body. This is where we get to start to map out these tension patterns. And as we map them out into larger patterns, it makes them a little bit easier to work on them. Coming back to our starting point, now we're going to get into some just simple folds. So that back hand is going to come off the floor. We're going to focus on the shin of that front knee. I want to keep shoulders square with that shin to start with, and our hands are going to be square with the shin to start with. And this is our basic assessment. We're still using that breath into that back hip bowl. So as you inhale, fill up that back hip bowl. As we exhale, lifts, moves forward and scoops so that we lock in that back hip. Then we're continuing to exhale as we let our hands slide straight through those shins. Inhale, bringing it all the way back up. Now I want to watch to make sure that we're reaching evenly. If one hand starts to slide further forward, it means that your shoulders are no longer square. And that's going to be an indication that you might have some immobility in the low back. So I want to have this, as that's the reason we're using this kind of shin angle, is to assess so that we can compare one side to the other. One last thing on these, I want to make sure that our spine remains tall. I don't want to drop my head or my chest straight down to the floor. I'm not doing this to get into that hip. As I exhale, my hands have to slide as I keep my spine nice and long and tall. Notice how far are you able to go? Notice where do you feel the tension? Do you feel it more in the front of this back hip? Do you feel it more in the back of the front hip? Or do you feel it more in your low back in general? Then once we get our 5 to 10 reps, we're going to switch to the other side, doing the exact same thing. And an interesting thing with the shin box position, when we bring that hand off the floor, you might notice that one side, your body doesn't like that as much. That's an assessment point as well. This is a postural position, and if you can't hold it as well on one side compared to the other, there's some imbalance there. So that can be an assessment point we want to take note of as well. So again, shoulders square with the shin, hands square with the shoulders. Nice inhale into that back hip bowl. Exhale as it lifts up, reaches forward, actively scoops. Continue to exhale as you start to reach through the shins. Inhale, bringing it all the way back into that back hip bowl. Exhale, lifts as you reach forward, actively scoop. Again, nice straight spine. Notice the differences on this side compared to the other side. Once we get 5 up to 10 reps on each side, now we're going to go back and forth with our shin box. We're going to do a nice little windshield wiper across. At this point, I'm less concerned about following my shin box angle. I'm just doing a nice simple fold. It can be through the shin, it can be through the knee. Really, we can explore a little bit. Moving all the way across to the other side, doing the same thing. And on this, we're going to do 10, really up to 20 reps, back and forth. By going back and forth, we can compare a little bit better what is more similar, and more importantly, what is more dissimilar between the left and the right sides. And as we're going back and forth, once you get 3 to 5 reps, we're now going to start to change our shin box angle. I'm going to let that back knee open up a little bit, slide back just a hair as I get into my fold. I can bring it back up to windshield wiper across, and then same thing, opening that back knee as I get into the fold. By changing our shin box angle, we're going to put that back hip in a little bit different tension position. So we can kind of notice, is it a little tighter on the right leg compared to the left leg? It also allows us to get into that front glute a little differently with each one. And as we go back and forth, we're going to continue to open up that back leg a little bit more and a little bit more until we get closer and closer to what we would consider like a yoga class pigeon pose, where we get that leg all the way back. But I'm not super concerned about that last end range. I'm more interested in everything in between. especially where it gives us some feedback. I don't want to get focused on end range poses. They look really pretty and they can feel really good. I'm more interested in the quality of the movement, and that's going to come everywhere in between those poses. And if we're not assessing the in-between spaces, we're really not getting a good quality assessment of our movement in general. And as we get to the end, we're trying to get as big as that opening as possible. If you cannot get far back, I'm not concerned about that. I want you to move within the range that you can. The idea is that over 30 days, this will improve and get better.